Now, when you have already finished the thesis defense, I'd like to say congratulations. Hello everyone, welcome to the course of Seminar in Linguistics and Literature for English Literature Study Program Universitas Teknokrat Indonesia. I'm Suprayogi, the lecturer for these classes. Alright, so in these editions, we are going to discuss about the thesis writing guidelines that is important for you before you start submitting your proposals. So here are the things that I'd like to explain about. Number one is about the basic guidelines, and second of all is that commonly occurred mistakes done by the students. So let's start one by one. The undergraduate thesis for English Literature Study programs should be written fully in English, with the words comprising for 10,000 until 12,000 words, that is starting from chapter 1 until chapter 5. Students can apply the proposals if they have already obtained 135 credit semesters, or you can have 135 for the ongoing semesters that you are taking right now. So please submit your proposal before 15 in every month. So now let's take a look at the things that you should be concerning on. And number one is on the cover page. What you need to do in the cover page is that make sure that the title should be in capital, and then please write down the city in Bandar Lampung, and please combine the word Bandar and Lampung in one word, not separated one. And if you want to have proposals, please write down a thesis proposal, but when it comes to the thesis defense, please write it down thesis, not proposal anymore. Now let's take a look at the page of declarations of the plagiarism. Please pay attention to these formats and make sure that the title is in Arials, meanwhile the contents are in Times New Romans, and don't forget to sign your name in this part. The next part is the approval page. In this part, you should be concerning on the NIK of the lecturers, and it's not the NEDN. So please make sure that in this page, only the signatures of head of English Literature Study Program as well as your advisor. The next one that we should be considering is the validation page, where there are three signatures. Number one is your examiner. Please write it down the NEDN. And second one is that from the advisor. Please write it down the NEDN also. But when it comes to the signature DIN, don't forget that you should write down NIK, not NEDN. And all of them should be in bold. Let's move to the next part, which is acknowledgements. Here, the acknowledgement that is allowed in our thesis guideline is that you should only make this into one page only. So write it down and prioritize to whom you would like to express your gratitude. And don't forget that acknowledgement is using S because it is plural. What about the motto? The motto should be written differently in a different page and also a different font. It should use monotype cursiva 16. So please write down the motto that reflects the value that you uphold when you're writing this thesis. In the dedication part, please make sure that you only write it down in one page. Do not be too long, and prioritize to whom that this undergraduate thesis is dedicated to. For example, your main family. Alright everyone, now let's move to the abstract sections. In abstract section, the thing that you should be concerning is that the writing systems here. As you can see from the pictures, that all the body content is in italics, and it's divided into three sections. And the last one is that don't forget that you should write down the keyword, 3 until 5 keywords, and should be written alphabetically. Now moving on to the table of contents. Here in table of contents, that almost most of them are in bold, and if you have additional tables inside of the thesis body, please give the additional section for list of tables after the table of contents, as well as if you have pictures inside of it, please add list of pictures after list of tables. Alright, now let's take a look at the things to concern as the frequently occurred mistakes. Number one is that sometimes students forgot to change the font for the page from Calibri. It should be in Times New Roman. Okay? And second of all is that if you have the table, don't forget to name the table. And it should be accordance with the chapter where the table is in. For example, that the table is in chapter 3, so you can start from table 3.1 and then table 3.2 and etc. So are the pictures that you put in the tables. Okay? The next one, sometimes you forgot to put the footers because we have the footers of Universitas Teknokrat Indonesia. So make sure that the footer also in Times New Roman. Next one, let's talk about the citations. Sometimes the students cannot differentiate the direct citations and indirect citations. So here, you should pay attention to this one. Number one, let's take a look at the direct citations. Direct citation is divided into two. The first one is in the paragraph itself. If it is, let's say, less than 3 lines, make sure that your citation should contain the last name of the author, and number 2 is that the year, and number 3 is the page. So you can take a look at the example here. So don't forget to put a quotation mark to indicate that this is direct citation. The next one is that the direct citations with longer writings. In this context, if it is more than 3 lines, separate that citations into paragraphs after that. Make it into the smaller fonts. Don't forget to write down the last name of the author, the year, as well as the page. In this context, you do not need to change the word from the original one to your versions. Okay, so it's clear between direct citation in the first form and also the second form. Now let's take a look at the indirect citation. Indirect citation means that you should do the paraphrasing. Paraphrasing in this context means that you should try to reformulate or rearrange the words with the same meaning in your writings. So please write down the name of the author, the last name, as well as the year. You do not need to put quotation mark. So you can see the example here. Alright, in your writing, it's also obliged for you, for the previous study section, you should combine the undergraduate thesis sources as well as the journal articles sources. So in this context, it is not suggested that all previous studies are coming from undergraduate thesis or scripsi from other university. At least you can combine. If you have 4 previous studies, 2 are coming from scripsi and another 2 is coming from the journal articles. Right? And the next one is that don't forget to cite your lecturer's work, 5 lecturers' work at minimum. So find the references that really relates to your thesis, and after that put it in your chapter 1 or chapter 2 or chapter 3. Now we're moving on to the last part, which is the references. In this context, sometimes students forgot to put the references of every author that they have cited in the body of the thesis and vice versa. So here, you have to make sure that all the author that you have written in the body should be cited in the references section and vice versa. All right, so here let's take a look at the examples of the books and then the magazines and etc. Make sure which one that has that should be in italic, which one should not be in italic, and also the font of that. So it should be in a complete components. The author, the year, and then the title, and then the publication city, and also the publisher for books. The next one that you should be concerning on is that the way you write down the articles in proceeding in journals. Make sure that if it is in the journal articles, you should write down the name of the journals, the volume of the journals, and the issue of the journals. If you can find the DOI, you can mention inside of them. But the one that is italics is the journal names, not the titles of the works. And if it is in proceedings, it's also the name. Please do the italics for the names of the conference or the name of the proceedings itself. So everyone, when you have already completed your thesis and you're ready for the thesis defense time, please do pay attention to this part. The next one, before you submit all the documents that needed for undergraduate thesis defense, make sure that you have already made the accounts for Jurnal Ilmiah Mahasiswa. That here in our study program, the name of JIM or Jurnal Ilmiah Mahasiswa is Linguistics and Literature Journal. Make the accounts in that journals, and after that, you try to download the templates. Then make the article version or the compact versions of your thesis by following the templates. After that, make sure that you have minimum 15 references and 5 lecturers' work cited there in the body, and also please write it down in the reference section. After that is the plagiarism checking. Please remind your lecturers, and you can also do the initiative to submit the draft to your lecturers. Then your lecturers will check the plagiarism in BAAK fsip. Then in this time, the lecturer will check this through Turnitin or in plagiarism detector software, and after that, it will give you the results. And it should be under 30%. If it is more than 30%, means that you have to do the revisions and resubmit it again. Okay, when it is ready, then upload it into the accounts of the JIM website, and you will get the submission proof. So let's take a look at the submission proof here. You can see this in the pictures. Okay, what about if your journal is actually worth for higher quality publications? It is okay. For example, you try to find out other journals website which has accreditation from SINTA, for example, SINTA 3, 4, 5, or 6. You can do that and do the same one. Then what we need is that the submissions proof should be uploaded along with the requirements for your thesis defense. Now, when you have already finished the thesis defense, I'd like to say congratulations. But then, for example, 1 until 2 weeks to finish. So the suggestion from me is that please do the revision within 2 weeks at maximum, because usually we'll face the graduations where all the things are getting closer and all the things need to be prepared. Okay? And the next one that you should be concerning is that after you got the approval from the examiners, then go to the advisors. After you got this from the advisors, then do the plagiarism checking for your scriptsy or undergraduate thesis draft. And make sure it is the same way like you have done. Make sure it is under 30% of the plagiarized contents. Okay? After you got the plagiarism detector proof, then that proof will be submitted to Sila Teknokrat. And then you can print the standardized formats, get the signatures, and make it into PDF versions. Okay? So all the things are the technical things that you should be concerning on in writing the thesis defense. So I will give you here in the seminar course sections to make you prepare for everything on time and you get the maximum score for your thesis. And this is the end of the explanations about the tips and technicalities when you write the thesis defense. Please do concern on that, and don't forget to download the guidelines for the undergraduate thesis writing in our faculty website at www.fsip.teknokrat.ac.id. Thank you very much, and see you in another video.
Terima kasih sudah menyaksikan video pembelajaran ini. Jangan lupa like, komen, dan subscribe, serta nyalakan tanda loncengnya agar kalian tidak ketinggalan informasi update lainnya. I hate audio.